Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for December's mission inspiration, the last one of 2023, and I'm on the last page in my mission inspiration journal. I'm a couple of days late with this this month, mainly because Ian and I were both working this weekend at an open day at Indigo Blue, and Mum and Dad were here looking after the fur babies for us while we were away working. And it didn't seem right to come upstairs and film and ignore Mum and Dad while they were here. So I didn't get around to actually doing it over the weekend. So it's now Tuesday, because yesterday I was busy sorting out website orders and trying to get those ready and off in the post as soon as possible. Fingers crossed, parcel start are still arriving in time for Christmas. But I still want to make sure that everything goes out on time. So on to the challenge for December. So I've printed off the challenge prompts. So what I will do, I'll turn over to my overhead camera, I'll read through the prompts, and then I'll show you kind of what I've gathered resource wise to do the page. Okay, so this is the prompt sheet. So we've got glue fragments of tissue paper or napkin, add paint or gesso in a thin layer, add a 3D or raised embossed object, add fabric or fibres, add washi tape or thin strips, paper strips, add glitter or metallic paint, add a photo of a loved one or pet, I've done that deliberately, and add a quote or phrase. And your words for inspiration are festive, cosy, illuminate, reflection and glisten. So perfect there. If you want to do something a bit Christmassy, since it's December, you can do. If you're not in the Christmas mood, you can use any kind of thing to do and create a non-festive Christmas art journal page or project or whatever you want to do. So like I said previously, or I have said many times before, you don't have to do these in any specific order, and you can substitute and move things around. So first thing I'm going to do then, it says glue fragments of tissue paper or napkin. So I'm going to start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start. And I've got out of my stash this Christmassy napkin, lovely kind of poinsettias. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and battle and just separate the top layer off if I can. I don't think it's 3-ply, I only think it's a 2-ply one. There we go. That didn't take much separating, did it? There we go. Right, and it does say fragments. So let's just tear and see what we get. Let's move them around a bit. And it doesn't matter if we overlap somewhat, but you know what? I think that'll do. I think that'll do. Right, let's put that to one side. Let's see if I can grab some, slap it on. All right. Let's just whack this down. Let's get plenty on. I've got a brush. And I've probably completely forgotten what order these things were in, but that's all right. It don't really matter. Make sure I've got plenty on the page. All right, so let's stick that down. I'm not trying to go for, make sure I've got like a complete even border all the way around. It doesn't matter if I go over the edge. Got all that fuss this on this one, I think. Last one of the year, let your hair down. But then again, we've not been striving for perfection at all this year, have we? No, we haven't. We've been embracing the imperfection. Throwing caution to the wind. All right. Let's stick that up there. See, probably completely different to what I originally laid them out on the page at. Completely different, but that's okay. Changing your mind as you go along is allowed. Right, let's get some more. Let's add some more. I've got plenty of matte medium left on the brush and on the page to be able to just whiz it around, just fill in a few gaps. There we go. So we've got different coloured poinsettias here, haven't we? That's all right. I think I'm happy with that. So let's get that dried off, and I'll go and get some water because I don't appear to have any in my water dish, and also my heat gun's missing, which means I haven't put it away since the weekend, so I'll have to get out my spare. Should have checked these things before sitting down, shouldn't I? There we go. Okay, so we've managed to get that first bit done. So we can tick off gluing fragments of tissue paper or napkin. If I sound a little bit out of breath, it's because I am. I've just run downstairs really quickly because I realised I had no kitchen roll, no kitchen towels. Like I said, haven't really put much back from the weekend yet. Right, next line then. So add paint or gesso in a thin layer. So I've got my metallic paint. So let's see, gold paint. But we've also got Ruby Slippers, which is a metallic red. But there's also Dragonfire, which is kind of an orangey kind of red as well. So I think that Dragonfly is more kind of like a Chinese red, if you know what I mean. Let's do Ruby. And that one, let's stick to the traditional like Christmassy colours. Have I got a paint mat? I have got a paint mat, but it's disgusting at the moment. Ian used this last. Didn't tidy up after himself, but he never does. There we go, gold paint. So let's add some sparkle already into that background. So add a thin layer, it says, so let's do that. Just add a little bit of glitter, sparkle. Now I'm hoping, obviously, that the camera's not going to be, or it's not going to reflect too much on the camera. You are still going to be able to see. Right, so while that's still wet, let's just bring in some of that Ruby Slippers, the red. Ugh. And just add a tad of that. Just kind of blend it. With the gold. Just kind of warms the background up. We've got red in the poinsettias anyway, so adding red in your background just kind of helps that along a little bit. And I don't mind mixing the two paints together. A bit of red over in that corner there. I'm sort of trying to remove most of the white in the background, just give it a little bit of a colour. But I don't want it too striking. Where it just kind of like disappears. Okay. So let's put those away. Right. And we'll get those dried off. Okay, we've zoomed in a little bit onto the page. So we've now added paint or gesso in a thin layer, but we've also added glitter and metallic paint. So we've kind of incorporated two into one, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. So the next thing, again, I'm going to incorporate different things again. So we've got add 3D or raised embossed object and add fabric or fibres. And then we've got add washi tape or thin paper strips. Let's see if I can kind of incorporate all three of those. Let's just move my journal out of the way and bring that paint mat back in, because what I've got is I've got some fabric. I've got a strip of old fabric. Well, it's not old. This is just about my fabric collection. This is what we've been using for covering some journals and stuff. It's got some sticky back on it already. But what I've done is I've cut some strips from the main one to create kind of like washi tape. But because it's fabric, that's for number 4, but also it's 3D, it's raised. So, because it's got some bulk to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of that red metallic paint again, and I'm going to just give it a quick once over with that metallic paint in a thin wash. So I'll just give the brush. You could do this before you cut it. I didn't think about it until after I'd done it, so, but that's okay. Just trying to do it so that it's going to blend. I don't want to cover it completely. Just want to add a bit of red to it. And what I could do is I could add a bit of green to it, just to give it that kind of like more festive kind of feel. I'm not getting enough paint on the brush, am I? Or it's soaking in too quick anyway. There we go. I need to press harder, I think. Two bits at once. Shall we add some green onto it, or is that going to make it a bit too much? Let's get it dry first, because we don't want to be, if we add green onto the red, it's just going to go brown. So let me just dry it off. The paint's dry, so I'm just opening up my pot of emerald green, or is it Emerald City? Emerald City it's called. Green metallic paint. So I'll just clean my brush off, and I'm going to grab some of the green. Lovely. And then I'm going to just drop it down on the mat, and I'm going to add some water to it. What we'll do is we'll add just green splatters. Some more. it nice and runny. There we go. More of a subtle hint than anything, but at least we've got some of those kind of balancing colours. Don't think I've got any on that piece there, have I? There we go. That will do. That will do. Right, let's get that dried off. Those strips are all dry now, so I'm going to start sticking them down. So this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to try and coax the back off the adhesive. There we go. And then just start adding some strips. Now I'm thinking about my composition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus my composition on this side of the page. So I'm going to, my rule of thirds, so I'm imagining the page split into a grid of 9, so 3 by 3, and where you've got that intersection in the bottom left hand corner, that's kind of where I'm looking or thinking about where everything I want to go. So that's what I'm doing. I'm imagining that grid on the page, and that's kind of where I want my focal image to be, my main focal point. Like so. And then what I'll probably do is I'll do a smaller one just to balance out in the top right. In fact, let me cut that already. Already. Okay. Come on. That's it. It's not that difficult, to be honest. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just cut that and then just do a small kind of mirrored cluster in that top right hand corner, just to kind of balance it all out. And then see, now that we've got the fabric down, that gives us a little bit of that 3D texture, which is what we also wanted from the prompts. There we go. So I'm not even going to use all of it. I'll just clear that up. bring the sheet back in. So we've now added 3D fabric and fibres, and we've got some kind of like washy strips as well in that background too. So nearly there. So add a photo of a loved one or a pet. Aha! So what I've done is I've printed off a photograph of Mr. Nip, because I don't think I've done a project with Nip in it yet. Oh, I'm just throwing things on the floor now. Oh, here we go. So let me just trim that out. Bless him. He's fast asleep on my bed at the moment. I took him out this morning, and all the snow that we've had recently is all gone because we've had rain for the last kind of like 24 hours. So the majority of what snow we had has disappeared now. But when I took him out this morning, because it's just me and him today, Ian's taken Bentley to work with him. To bring a dog to work day. So he's just left me with Nip, which is fine, because Nip is absolutely no bother at all. Right, so I've got this red tag that I've had in my stash for ages and ages and ages. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it down. There we go. Just to kind of create that even sort of border all the way around. Glue, which I have somewhere. There we go. Actually, before we do that, where's that gold paint? I've got some scissors. I'm just going to grab a little piece of cut and dry. That'll do. Thinking on my feet now, changing my mind as I'm going along. I've got a spatula. Have I got any glue? Don't need any glue. Right. What I was thinking then, let me just grab a bit of that paint. The gold paint, and I'm going to put some into that cut and dry. So what I'm going to create is like a little stamp pad, but instead of it having ink, it's got paint. So what I can do is I can just take the edge and just add a little bit of gold edge in. Let me see. So I'll pop that down and then do the same thing for the tag. Okay, so I'll quickly get that dried off. Okay, so the gold paint around the edges are dry, and I just started to add glue to the back of my Mr. Nipper picture and realised I hadn't turned the camera on. So let me just add a bit more on now so you can just see what I'm doing. There we go. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue just onto the back of Mr. Nip's photo, and then just stick that just so we've got a little bit of border all the way around. Oh, look how cute he is. He's a cutie. He's a monkey. Okay, so I'm going to place it somewhere around about down here, I think. So I need some fibres. Let me see if I can get some twine or string. Okay, we were looking for twine or string, couldn't find any, so I've got some sari silk instead. So what we'll do is we'll add that. See, even more fibres. So we'll add that to the tag. So we'll go front to back, or back to front, and then I'll just loop that in there. Like so. I think I like that stuck out like that. Right, so let's put some glue on the back of that. And then we'll stick that down like so. So I'll need to put something heavy just on that, just to hold that down. Just for a few minutes, and then I'll be right back. All right, it's been a few minutes, so that's had a chance to stick down on the page. That's not going to go anywhere. So just bring back in the sheet. So we've added a photo of a loved one and a pet. So now all we have to do is just to add a quote or phrase. So what I've tried to do is the quote or phrase, I thought I'd try and create a poem that incorporated some of the words for inspiration. So I've been able to incorporate 3 of the words from inspiration into a little poem that I've written. So, and the little poem is: in cosy warmth, a festive glow, reflections dance in candles throw. Embraced by joy, the seasons cheer, a tranquil heart this time of year. So there you go. That's my little poem that's going on my page with Mr. Nip. So I'm going to just cut, I've printed it out obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be able to read it out to you like that, would I? Stating the obvious. Captain Obvious this morning. So let's just trim those out and make sure we've got them in the right kind of order of where we want them to go. So I think what we might have to do is, obviously I'm going to cut these down. I keep saying obviously, don't I? Nothing's obvious. Nothing's obvious. I should stop saying obviously. All right, so trim that right down. So what I may do is actually do it so, because it's all kind of in, apart from that one, they're kind of broken up into smaller lines, aren't they? So I might be able to just get, no. Let's see if we can do it. So I'll just trim these up as much as I can. And then just snip that. If I'd have thought about this in advance properly, then I would have spaced these out appropriately. But do you know what? It don't really matter. Like I've said many, many times this year, we're not striving for perfection. We're embracing imperfection and individuality. Of course, this is the first year that we'll have spent with Nip, because we only got him in January. So this is our first Christmas with Mr. Nip. So we don't know how he's going to react to the Christmas tree. We don't know whether he's one of those dogs that likes to explore what's under the Christmas tree. There we go. I think that's probably going to be the best way, I think. I like that. I like it a lot. So, do I want to just go around the edges with a little bit of Distress ink first? Yeah, I think so. So let me just grab my Distress sponge. And I've got some brushed corduroy, because I still haven't replaced my vintage photo. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly, really quickly, just whip around all of these, and then I'll join you again in a second when I'm ready to glue everything down. All of my little quote pieces have now got a little bit of distress all around the edges. So I'm just going to, I've put some glue in one of these fine point applicators, just so it makes it just a bit easier, just to stick them all down without getting glue everywhere. Okay. Nearly there. So this year's been quite a good one for the projects. I really enjoyed what everybody's shared this year, based on not just the main mission inspirations, but also the mid-month minis, which have been quite a bit of fun. People seem to be a bit more whimsical with the minis, the mid-month minis, than they do with the main pages. But that's, you know, that's cool. I've done quite a bit of whimsy myself this year. So, there we go. Lovely. Just pop the lid back on my glue. And I think that's pretty much me done. So there we go. So there is my art journal page for December's mission inspiration, the last one of the year. Obviously I will be back mid-December for the final mid-month mini mission inspiration. So but I will definitely see you before then. So don't forget, if you want to join us over in our Mission Inspiration Facebook group for all our challenges next year, then that's the URL on the screen there, but there will be a clickable link in the description area below. So as I've said, that's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.